Thank you, Alan. Thanks for inviting me. I always enjoy, this is the second time I've come to this conference, and I've always enjoyed coming down here because there's such a variety of speakers and information and education to have. So I hope I can leave a little bit with you, more than I'm taking back with me. Actually, they asked me to come down and talk about the Soil Health Nexus, which I'm involved in, and some of the other educational opportunities that might be available for you. So it's pretty interesting because I wanted to jump up, being an extension person, I really wanted to jump up and start answering some of the questions. And I'm going to answer one of yours, Dave, is why local people don't come. You know, I think what's interesting, and we do a lot of field trials ourselves, and one of the things I've learned is that we put the field trials out, you have a field day, and none of the local people are there. But you go down to the coffee shop, and they know exactly what you're doing. And if you go, you talk to farmers, they've been out in that trial because they'll tell you about it. So don't worry about the local people. Just get it out there so people can see it, because the farmer-to-farmer learning is tremendous. It's kind of interesting because I think they kind of laid the groundwork today with kind of the what, with Christina talking about soil health, and then Barry talking about kind of the hows. And I think that the whys are the most interesting. I think that are really important in why soil health is important, and why the practices that we're hearing about and what we're talking about today are important. Is, you know, if you're farmers in here, and if you've been to marketing seminars, they always tell you the market doesn't care about your cost of production. Well, the consumers don't care about your profitability. I mean, I think they do care, but it's really interesting to go and set with some of our consumers and some of our millennials. And I think some of the stories and the surveys that Jason put up there, I think are very important for us to think about and remember. For the last 2 years, there's a crop summit up in Mount Pleasant. I'm actually from Central Michigan, right, the Central Michigan area, home of the Chippewas. But they always have a crop summit there. In the last 2 years, they've had consumer panels. And what's interesting about the consumers panels is when they start talking about, and you know, they had a cook, they had a single mom, they had a variety of people, and their knowledge of food is, from a farmer standpoint, it's really should be scary for us, because when they start talking about the GMOs and how they make buying decisions and what they read on the internet, I think it's in the crowd. We kind of get that courtesy laugh, but that's who's buying our stuff. And I think we really have to pay attention to what the consumers think, because there's only 1% of us. And I will add, too, that the breakfasts on the farms we've had in Michigan are really important tools to bring people on farms. And I know that as an extension educator, and I think somebody brought it up, SARE probably hears it, is so many times we ask, how can we benefit you as farmers? And one is tell consumers about our story. Tell us about our farm. And you know, one of the things I learned, I'm kind of going a long way around the barn here to get to my talk, but it's kind of interesting. I can stand and talk to a group of young people for an hour. That has near the impact as a farmer, a person that's in his clothes, his work clothes, talking about why he does what he does, and why it's important for him, and why it's important for his family, and how his practices impacts his family first. So anyway, I think these are really important things that we need to think about as farmers. In our soil health, in our cover crops, and protecting our water, our air, I think they're an important message that we have to pass on to our communities and to our decision makers as well. So anyway, there's a lot of information out there, and what I'm here to do is really kind of highlight. They asked me to do some of the things about where your educational opportunities in the Midwest. And I'm really here to represent the Soil Health Nexus. I'm going to talk about that. That's through the North Central Water region. But there's a couple other things that before I start going into the Nexus that I think are resources locally that you can use. And I think Barry was just up here talking about the soil health initiatives of the NRCS, unlocking the secrets of the soil. I think that started, I believe, it kicked off in October of about 2012, if I'm right. But they actually have done a tremendous amount of background work and put out information that can kind of help us understand soil health and some of the practices that we can apply to improve the soil health and some of the why things. One of the interesting things when we talk about soil health that I think it's funny because my association with soil health has been for the last probably 7 or 8 years, cover crops probably for 10. And one of the things that's interesting, and I know Sarah brought up some of the questions about, testing, the soil health tests. That's kind of, there's a lot of those out there. And some of the work research on farm trials we've done is comparing some of these tests, running these tests and trying to understand them. And one of the things that's, to me, has been kind of a wild card with these soil health tests is what are we really measuring? What are those indicators? If you look at some of the tests that are out there, some of them have 10, 12, 13 indicators. Some are doing small things, large things. One of the things that I really credit the NRCS for doing is in September, I think it was September of last year, they introduced some standard indicators. And this is the list of those indicators that they're going to be testing. And they also introduced some of the laboratory procedures to run those indicators. So NRCS is a tremendous resource. So if you're Google, just get online and take a look at some of those different things at NRCS. They've provided a lot of leadership in the soil health arena, soil health testing arena, and now we're just starting to put information behind it. And they also have that list of resources, videos, and those types of things that can help you understand the what, the hows, and the whys. Another really good resource that I think everybody has access to, and I would consider you, is the Sustainable Ag Research and Education, SARE. Now, I don't know how many of you are aware of SARE, the SARE program. Many of you probably in here have been involved in some of the SARE projects and had some of the SARE grant funding. But it's actually, SARE is funded through the USDA, through the Farm Bill. And it's basically what it is. It's Sustainable Ag Research and Education. And if you go to their website, there's a tremendous amount of tools and resources that you can grab onto and look to find out resources, information, knowledge that can help you learn more, educate yourself, and share that with others. And you can see right on their soil health is spotlighted in their front page. So this is a really good resource. They do actually have a library of cover crop and soil health resources, images, pictures. There's presentations you can listen to, watch. So if you're a consultant, agribusiness, given a presentation, or if you need those types of resources, this is an excellent place to get informational materials for a presentation. It's up there. They invite you to come and get that information and utilize it as you see fit. So I think that's another tool that you can consider using. They also have the soil health, a pretty well-developed soil health page. They've got fact sheets on cover crops, some of those how things they just introduced. I think there's 10 new sheets relating soil health to water quality and talking about some of those ecosystem services. When you want to have a conversation with the general public and our non-farm friends about the why of cover crops and soil health and those ecosystem services that you're helping provide by the practices that you're implementing, help relay that message that you're doing things responsible and doing the right things for your community as well as the economics of your farm. Then there's the Soil Health Institute. I just grabbed a couple of that Soil Health Institute. I put the web pages above That's one that works in the Midwest. It's actually founded by the Noble Foundation, and the Farm Foundation helped fund it. It's more of a private-public partnership. They have a number of different resources related to soil health. I'd invite you to go there and see what they have. These are some of the resources I use if I want to do some research, find out what's happening throughout the Midwest, throughout the country. These are really good spots to go to visit. The Institute, like every other organization, they're trying to create a funding pool. They're trying to get centralized soil health information. They're looking where those research gaps are. Just like Sarah mentioned, there's a lot of research that needs to be done on the how and the why of soil health and be able to measure it economically, because when we talk about these practices, when I talk to non-farm people, they ask about, well, why don't these farmers just do that? I said, well, it's about economics. The farmer has all the risk. Barry talked about you have a system. You have a system that works for you. When you start introducing something else into that system, it may cause an economic impact. So who's got the best expertise? And they're looking for that unbiased information. They're trying to bring resources together, collaboration amongst of the researchers, promotion of soil health. And the Soil Health Institute also looks at rehabilitating soils in developing countries. So they can be, not only they're national, but they also have an international focus. The Soil Health Partnership, that's actually a farmer-led group within the national corn growers. So it's kind of centered around the corn growers. And it's a network of farmers in 12 states that work on soil health issues, try to improve soil health in those corn production systems. And again, they have similar goals to measure and communicate the economic and environmental effects of those different management practices that you might apply on your farm for soil health. And again, they have different goals and objectives and what they hope to do. They're going to recruit those research sites, those farms to participate. They're going to have the research plots and protocols. We're going to publish the findings, try to provide some technical assistance. I know we heard that in here, that on-farm assistance to come out and help the farms adapt some of these practices. The other one is the Midwest Cover Crop Council. I know Sarah and Barry mentioned it. It's becoming a very useful tool. Go on that website. It's state-specific. You got the selector. There's a selector tool that you can get. It takes it right down to your county. So if you're in Paulding County and this is your cropping system, drainage, it asks very specific questions, and then it will make a recommendation for cover crops for you. And there's also, you were starting to get videos and other things populating that particular website. So now for what I'm really here to talk about is the Soil Health Nexus. Now the Soil Health Nexus came about 2 years ago, and it's actually came about from some work with the North Central Water Network. The North Central Region Water Network, what is that? That's a collaboration of 12 land-grant universities in basically the Great Lakes Basin. And the land-grant universities, it's a network to promote the water quality and water quality practices. It has a number of different areas in which they do work, but that network, the initiatives, the resources, each land-grant university, the directors of extension meet and they fund the water network. And that's kind of how our Soil Health Nexus came about. We originally had some seed money where we started the soil health nexus, and then there was the manure and soil health. It's actually a group out of Nebraska, and it might be really pertinent. That type of information it would be really pertinent in areas that have heavy livestock. So we combined those two groups to come up with the Soil Health Nexus as itself. So the Soil Health Nexus is, I'm one of the cooperators, or Christina Carell, Leslie Johnson from Nebraska. We're kind of the co-PIs of the project. You'll see a list of the universities that are involved in the Soil Health Nexus and the North Central Water Region Network. And what we're really trying to do is really trying to identify some of the obstacles for farmers adapting practices. 2 years ago, we sent out a survey. We probably have approximately 2,000 surveys to kind of identify what those obstacles were, and we're putting that together now to kind of help us guide some of our, as we move forward, to target some of our research and where the kind of the farmers and the users and the consultants might be. And then we're developing a toolbox, and we're putting in that toolbox all types of information for whether you're an educator, whether you're a farmer, whether you're a natural resource agency person, that can help you further develop your education and actually help you do on-farm research that's related to soil health and water quality. Another part of it is just strictly from an education standpoint. Extension is the educator training. We're trying to build the capacity of extension educators on soil health using research-based information to provide them so they can go out to those farms and assist the farmers in a positive way. And then to facilitate the implementation of on-farm research in trying to engage farmers. Some of the best learning happens farmer to farmer. And I think it's important that we continue to build and support that network as we move forward. We have long-term goals. From the Nexus standpoint, we want to continue to build each state's capacity. One of the things that I think we feel like we're a little bit unique is because we have the land-grant universities, we have those College of Ag, those soil scientists, those plant scientists, all those agronomy people that are applying their skill and expertise to soil health research. And, you know, we want to make it science-based, so when we make recommendations, where they can be recommendations made on sound science. A lot of times, if we don't like to criticize the internet because it can be your best friend or your worst enemy, but some of the things that are on there are not always science-based, and you have to know the questions to ask. So one of the things that I think we bring to the Soil Health Nexus is that network of land-grant university researchers that can help us move this project forward. If you go to the web page, this is what it's going to look like, the Soil Health Nexus. You're going to, what we have going, every month, we have blogs going on now, just as I'm going to take a walk through the website. Every month, we have a blog post comes in, something new and interesting that somebody from one of the states will write a blog post. And this particular one here actually talks about, you know, the releasing the standards and for soil health testing. There's a whole list of different ones. You can go back through and read those particular blog posts. It also has kind of some text and about just basically Soil Health 101. It's a long sheet of information and fact sheets that are related to soil health and can kind of give you that Soil Health 101 online if you just want to kind of read through. So this is something that you can utilize in your home when you have an opportunity in these terrible winter days that you have, if you want to go through and get a little bit more information about soil health. Again, we can see this is more of the Soil Health 101 type of stuff that you can look at and learn at your different time. And this is the toolbox. We're just starting to populate that toolbox. We're still building a lot of this stuff out. But that toolbox, the on-farm research for soil health, there's a number of different resources in there that you as a farmer or you as an agribusiness or a CCA can utilize that and help a farmer work through a on-farm research plot where how do you lay it out, what type of field, do you want to you want it to be just a demonstration, do you want it to get research data off it? This can really help you go through that and get that, follow you through the process. I might add that the SARE website also has a really good bulletin on farm research on how you would do that. It's another really good tool that's available. So To kind of wrap up, I'm not going to make you stand up, although I'm envious of SARE of getting some information out of a crowd. But this is another thing that we have going on. Part of the Soil Health Nexus, we've conducted face-to-face type learning opportunities. We've done one up in North Dakota. We've done one in Indianapolis. This is our last one. We're actually going this date. We're going to be visiting. That's right at the site of the Missouri Soil Health Lab, and we're going to have an opportunity to go in and see that lab, see what they're testing for, see the process, the procedures. We're also going to have in-field type of demonstrations where we're going to go out and do some of these tests, these physical tests, do slake tests. We're going to have soil pits. We're going to let you go down and see how, try to make that a learning experience, go through those indicators, and, sometimes just walk through, some of the best soil health tests that I think farmers can do is just kind of a physical walk through your field. Until our lab tests become better, and it's not that they're not good, it's just there's not enough data points on these tests to really feel really good about some of the outcomes, because some of those tests are so dependent on moisture and temperature and those types of things. But anyway, we'll be able to do some field assessments, so that's an opportunity. There's some funds available to help you travel there if that's something you're interested in doing. But with that, I appreciate your opportunity to be here. And I might say one thing. If you come down to Ohio and Michigan State, we usually have one kind of enemy in common. There's that person up the road, the person with the khaki pants. I live in an area that is about 50-50. And one of the interesting things is that I always tell my blue buddies, I said, listen, nobody's impressed that you're taking that team to Spain or taking that team to Europe or maybe taking them to South America next year. The fans just want to go to Indianapolis.